Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Ahkam SOS, the show that discusses Islamic duties and practices. MashaAllah, we are on our second fast, and on behalf of myself and also Imam Hussein TV, and as well as the Sheikh, we'd like to extend our congratulations to all viewers on the holy month of Ramadan. Inshallah, it is your second fast, and we are together developing and setting a new routine for us as we progress during this holy month. Ramadan being a month where we take time not only to look at our deeds, but to look also within our character and also to purify our character and purify our souls. Inshallah, please remember us in your du'as and let us begin. I'm your host, Mohsin Shah, and joining me is Sheikh Ali Ma. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
How are you this evening? How's your fast going?
Alhamdulillah, all well.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Would you like to say anything to the viewers before we begin?
Yes, inshallah, that they make use of these hours and times in which Allah Azza wa Jal has given us as a gift, Riyafatillah, as I mentioned yesterday, that we make use of it in dua, in supplication, in invocation to Allah Azza wa Jal, asking forgiveness and asking the hawa'ij of dunya and akhirah.
Ahsan. Shaykhna, yesterday we were discussing in regards to fasting, we discussed about the niyyah, having the intention. We discussed a little bit about those areas of the world where, there's the daytime is too long. There's so much daylight. You're looking at 20 hours, 21 hours of daylight. Very, very difficult to fast. Let's move our conversation on. And I'm not sure if you've ever experienced it, Sheikh. MashaAllah, you're a man of taqwa and a man of great discipline. But I definitely have experienced it, and I'm sure a lot of brothers and sisters have experienced it as well. Is that when you're fasting, especially when you begin to fast, the first couple of days, you're still getting used to the routine, and you may accidentally eat something or drink something. Does that invalidate your fast? And if it does happen, what should one do?
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين. With regard to this question, if somebody eats something accidentally or drinks something accidentally without an intention of eating or drinking, in this case, the fast would not be nullified and he can continue his fast. There's no qada, nothing to make it up later. The Sawm is sahih and correct.
I remember one of the famous Sayyid, he was saying that not only is this, it does not nullify your fast, but in a way it is the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is like rizq, direct from Allah, that He's allowed you with your fast have a little bit of food, just because as a blessing or as a gift, because you are the guest of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like you said yesterday, you're all the guest of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this holy month of Ramadan. Sheikhna, when we are having suhoor, and we try to stop at imsak, which is 10-15 minutes before the adhan, and we do have bits of food in our mouth. Now, one can understand that you clean your teeth and you pick your food or whatever beforehand. But what if the adhan has gone? It is now, the fast has been initiated. We are fasting now. The time of Fajr has gone, and you deliberately, you pick food out your teeth or whatever, and also swallow it. Does that invalidate the fast?
Yes, indeed, it will invalidate the fast if anything remains between the teeth and the one swallows it intentionally, deliberately, then the fast will become batil, and the one should make it up later and as qada.
So the best thing actually is after the adhan of Fajr has gone and that now we are in the fast, is to actually maybe clean your teeth and spit everything out, and also rinse your mouth thoroughly, brush your teeth and get everything out rather than going in.
Exactly, yes. It should be done back basically before the Fajr time. It's better just to keep in the safe side. But even after the Fajr time, if you're sure that nothing's going to go inside, then you can still even brush your teeth, even after the Fajr. But make sure nothing goes inside your teeth.
Sheikhna, we are in a global pandemic for the last couple of months, weeks, I should say, actually. A lot of us have been self-isolating, on lockdown, quarantining ourselves. According to Ayatollah Sheikh Wahid Khurasani, Hafadullah, one of our great esteemed scholars in Iran, what does he say in regards to fasting during the corona time?
He basically says if somebody knows that fasting harms him or her, and even if the doctor said that you must fast, but you know yourself that you cannot fast, you know that if you fast, you will collapse, for example, due to the illness that you have, not be at this virus or anything else. You know very well yourself that if you fast, it's going to be harmful. You have the fear of, having more difficulties in your illness, more severe situations. And he also mentions that if one knows that certain that there is no actually no harm. So in one side, if there's a harm, and the doctor says you should fast. So you know that it's hurting you. It's the fast hurts you, harms you. You can rely on your own judgment. So you don't have to listen to the doctor in this case because you know yourself better. And in the other hand, if the doctor said, well, you don't need to fast, due to your illness, alas, you're marid. But you know yourself that you can fast, although there's a difficulty, but you know that you can overcome this difficulty and you can fast safely, then you should do so in both cases. So for the virus issue, if you know that it's going to harm you, there's a possibility of severe consequences, then you shouldn't fast. There's a fear, there's a harm, you shouldn't fast. You're ill now. You're, the subject of illness is now overwhelming. But if you see yourself that you're well, you can manage fasting. In some patients who have diabetes, they can actually fast. They've tried it. It was successful, for example. Although the doctor said you shouldn't fast, but they can, then they have to fast. So it depends really on your own conditions.
Ahsan. I mean, yeah, I do understand, Sheikhna. Sometimes we know our bodies, we're very confident with our bodies as well, and we can withhold certain you could say shortcomings with the body, or we can withhold our health, and we can make small sacrifices and be patient with our bodies in order to actually fulfill the fast. And inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will increase the ajr in this act as well. And this is surely a month of being patient and also being disciplined. And inshallah, to all the viewers out there who may feel a little unwell, me and you, Sheikh, we were discussing beforehand, wasn't it? With myself as well, that I'm feeling a little weak with fasting. But alhamdulillah, we can still carry on, and we can still have a healthy experience during this Ramadan, inshallah. Sheikhna, that this is a live show and that we do take in questions. The viewers can either text via the WhatsApp, or you can send us an email, should be at the bottom there. If you have a question you'd like to ask us, please send them in. Inshallah, this Ramadan also we'll be taking phone calls. We'll be taking your live phone calls. If you have a question in regards to Ramadan, or maybe a different topic, inshallah, me and the Sheikh will do our best to answer your questions. If you'd like to call in, we don't need to know your name or where you're calling from. Just call in with your question, and inshallah, me and the Sheikh will do our best to answer all of those questions. And on the WhatsApp, Sheikh, now we've had a question come in saying that, does marital relations, so having your physical relations that you have between husband and wife, does that invalidate the fast?
Yes, one of the mubtalat of the fast that invalidates the fast is the marital relation or the intercourse between the husband and the wife. Even though if the the penetration took place, but there's no ejaculation. Just the penetration itself of the organs that will cause of the fast to be bottled and void. Other acts such as touching and so forth, which are not the actual intercourse, are it's better than the one to avoid it, but it's not haram.
Okay.
Rather, the one which is not allowed is the actual intercourse itself.
Okay. The intercourse is not allowed, and you should try and refrain from showing any sort of affection.
Exactly.
May lead to marital intercourse. Sheikhna, a question here a bit on the same topic. In regards to His Eminence, the Grand Ayatollah Sheikh Wahid Khorasani, someone has asked whether, okay, one thing is to have intercourse with someone while you're fasting, intercourse with your wife, I should say, or your marital partner while fasting. But what if you continue to do it more than once during the day? So, okay, you've done it. Maybe you had relations in the morning with your marital partner, with your spouse, and then in the afternoon, in the evening, and so forth. What is to be done? Is there a kafara to pay for this, or do you have to do more than one fast in return as qada?
Yes, of course. The kafara is repeated by the repeat of the intercourse sessions. So each session, each penetration requires a separate kafara. So whenever they do it 1, 2, 3 times and so more, they have to pay separate kafara for each session of intercourse.
I see. And this is Sheikh Wahid Khurasan. This is his fatwa, yes?
Exactly. And some ulama also they go with the opinion of the Sheikh Khurasani because seems to be there's a narration of this regard.
Thank you. Sheikhna, if someone does another act, so we're not talking about intercourse here, let's say something else that invalidates the fast. So I know that there's things like eating, drinking, putting your head under the water, saying lies about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Ahlul Bayt and so forth. So if someone, let's say, did the other invalidatory acts more than once during the day, does he also have to pay a kafara for each one?
If somebody commits an act in which invalidates the fast, such as drinking deliberately or eating, for example, intentionally during the daytime of the month of Ramadan, if they repeat this act, at the end of the day, there's only one kafara to be paid. The exception is when the one does different or many sessions of intercourse between the spouses. That will have multiple and repeated kafara. Other than that, there's no need for multiple kafara, although they shouldn't do it. They shouldn't keep eating and drinking the whole day. You have to respect the adab of the month of Ramadan. You have to refrain from eating and drinking, although you have broken your fast. You have to avoid eating till the Maghrib time, respecting the sanctity of this holy month. But there's only one kafara to be paid.
I see. Sheikhna, you and I both know that this is a very, I wouldn't say controversial to me, but it's a very sensitive topic, but it needs to be discussed because this is one of the habits, unfortunately, of mainly men, but some women also are involved in this. It's the masturbation, the topic of masturbation. Now, does this invalidate the fast? And also, secondly, I don't think enough emphasis is put on this, and maybe Ramadan is a great time for those people who may have this bad habit to actually stop and change and reform. But masturbation, does it invalidate the fast?
Yes, indeed. One of the acts in which will invalidate the fast is the act of masturbation, in which by itself it's haram to do. Outside the month of Ramadan, outside the fasting period. But while fasting will, of course, this becomes one of the methods of breaking your fast in haram way. Like, a'udhu billah, if somebody does zina, a'udhu billah, while fasting, for example. And it seems to be there's a kafara as well to be paid for this act. So to make up as qada afterwards and kafara to be paid as well.
Ascent. it's a time of Ramadan. It's a time where one should reflect on themselves where that something which is normal and halal, eating and drinking, has been made forbidden for you during daylight hours in order for you to not just only obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but to, teach you about discipline and that, look, if you can give up drinking and eating, which is a human necessity, surely you can give up some of the bad habits and the sins that you commit. And inshallah, this whole Ramadan process, this whole Ramadan season is a reform of one's character and also one's spirit. Inshallah, we pray for all the mu'mineen and mu'minat that they use this time wisely and inshallah to become better Muslims at the end of this Ramadan, inshallah. Shaykhna, we touched a little bit upon it. Let's touch it again. Ascribing lies to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wa alihi, and his Ahlul Bayt. May Allah send his peace and blessings upon them all. Lies to them, does that invalidate the fast?
Yes, if one ascribes lies to Allah Azza wa Jal, or to the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wa alihi, or to his pure progeny and family, alayhim as-salam jami'an, the fast will become void and batil. And Sayyid says that as a obligatory precaution, ihtiyat wujubi, if somebody ascribes lie to Fatima to Zahra, salamullahi alayha, would also renders the fast void and batil. So one should avoid.
Inshallah. I mean, we coming from the school of the Ahlul Bayt, we would never ever even think of ascribing lies to these holy figures, never mind Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But inshallah, maybe we use this time to get closer to the Ahlul Bayt and also to Rasulullah and also to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah. Shaykhna, when we fast, a lot of us have a lot more free time because we're not eating or cooking. Furthermore, we're at home, we're doing quarantining now. If one is to clean his house, maybe he goes into the attic and wants to do some cleaning, there's a lot of dust. A brother or a sister is fasting, they've gone into the attic to do some cleaning, to take out some rubbish, and they swallow a thick piece of dust or a collection of dust. Does that invalidate the fast?
Letting dense or thick dust reaching one's throat while they are fasting would eventually break the fast, of course. I mean, be it something that you eat or you don't eat. So let's say it's the thick dust of the flour, for example, wheat flour, for example, or the dust of the soil or sand, for example. This thick dust, if reaches the throat while fasting, will eventually break the fast and makes it batil. The Sayyid also mentions that as an obligatory precaution, ihtiyat wujubi, again, he does ihtiyat wajib here, that one should also prevent and avoid the reach of the thin dust to the throat. Okay. So he does ihtiyat in this case.
Shaykhna, what about just normal dust that's in the air? I'm sure if you were to shine a bit of light, mashallah, it's a really nice sunny day here in West London, and if you see the sun rays, you could see bits of dust and stuff like that. So what does Ayatollah Sistani say in terms of inhaling this dust? Does this invalidate the fast at all?
The Sayyid says that if the dust is not thick dust, and reaches the throat, it will not invalidate the fast. The fast will be correct and sahih. So not thick dust should be fine, according to the Sayyid Sistani, of course.
Ahsan. Shaykhna, what is the ruling for inhaling dense steam or smoke from a cigarette while fasting? So, we know that maybe some people are making tea, boiling the kettle, or if they're boiling water for cleaning purposes. And when we're walking around outside, we shouldn't be because we're in quarantine, but let's just say we're walking around and someone's outside having a cigarette and we inhale that smoke. Does that invalidate the fast?
Well, as an obligatory precaution, ihtiyat wujubi, the one should not allow the dense or the thick steam or the smoke of the cigarettes or even shisha, for example, and tobacco to reach the one's throat. So the one should avoid it, yes.
Okay. And what about asthma pumps? A lot of our brothers and sisters suffer from asthma. They may require it for breathing purposes. Does that invalidate the fast?
These gas inhalers would not invalidate and make the fast batil. It's not really considered as the dust, so it's just mainly gas, so it should be fine.
Okay. Ahsan. So for those of you who suffer from asthma, you are allowed to take your medicine, your inhalers, and it will not invalidate your fast. So please, join us as we are fasting in this holy month of Ramadan. My final question for you, Sheikhna, and it's a very different, but it does also, apply to us, and that is immersing one's head in water. Now, does that invalidate the fast? I'm not sure how or where someone would immerse their head in water unless they're swimming, but to put your whole head in water, does that invalidate the fast? And is it a case of, well, you can immerse yourself in water, your whole body, but not the head? Or vice versa? If it's the whole head and not the body, does that signify and qualify as the whole head is in the water, his fast is invalid?
Yes, if one immerses his head inside, the entire head inside the water, that will render the fast void and batil. As you mentioned, the scenario you gave, that if somebody was inside the water but his head is not inside the water, that should be fine. But just be careful not to, allow your head to be immersed inside the water. So yes, immersing one's entire head inside the water will break the fast, but some ulama have argued that this would not break the fast. So you have to go back to your marja to see if
Oh wow! So some say that.
Yes. So,
oh wow! MashaAllah, I didn't know that. Fantastic. Thank you very much, Sheikhna. And thank you for all the viewers who are joining us, on this session of Ahkam SOS. Just a quick reminder, Ahkam SOS will be airing live every day throughout the holy month of Ramadan, inshallah. We are not going to be on certain days of, Laylatul Qadr and so forth. We will not be having a show. But all the other days, definitely we will be having a live show here on Imam Hussein TV 3 at 6:30. Inshallah, you guys can join us. And we'll be taking your live questions. So if you want to call in with a question, the number's there at the bottom. And inshallah, me and the Sheikh will be taking your live calls as well as your the emails and your WhatsApp questions. Inshallah, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Sheikh, any final thoughts? Anything you'd like to say?
In one of the passages of the dua of the sermon of the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that we raise our hands towards the dua in our prayers. Best time of dua is in the times of the prayers. After salah, when you finish, you raise your hand for the dua, in which it's the best times in this holy month of Ramadan. So we try make the best use of this holy month, especially after the salah time, to ask Allah whatever we want. And one of the most important haja is to ask for the reappearance of Imam al-Hujjah, Ajjallah Farajahu al-Sharif.
Ahsan. Thank you very much, Sheikh, and thank you to all of you for joining us. Join us tomorrow again at 6:30 here on Imam Hussein TV 3. I've been your host, Mohsin Shah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.